welcome you to a new section here on this course on Django. And in this tutorial, we are going to be covering the section overview of this new section we are going to start on from this tutorial. And in this section, basically, we are going to be covering two basic concepts. The first concepts that we are going to be covering is that how to create a Django project. And the second concept we are going to be covering in this tutorial is about the explanation of those project files that will be created automatically by Django when you create a new project. So this is going to be a very important and a very interesting section for you guys. So I hope you stick on to this section and grasp each and everything. So I guess that's it with this tutorial. In the next tutorial, what we are going to do is that we are going to start creating our first project in Django. So thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Welcome you to another tutorial on this course. So in this tutorial, what we are going to do is that we are going to create our very first Django project. So if you are watching this tutorial, I hope that you have successfully installed PyCharm on your systems, you have activated PyCharm on your systems. So in this tutorial, I'll make you go through the compiler and I'll make you friendly with the compiler. Additionally, we will also see how to create your first Django project in PyCharm. So let's not waste any time and let's get to it. So when you double click on PyCharm, wherever you have installed this, it will open this window that is visible right in front of you. So what you see over here is that create new project is the very first option. Then you have this open option, and then you have this get from version control. This get from version control is totally not important. What is important over here is these two options over here. The first one is create new project and the second one is open. So you are going to use the second option, open, whenever you are opening this PyCharm for the second or third or any number of time when you don't want to create a new project but you want to open an existing project. So this button is going to be used for that purpose. And now since we are opening this for the very first time, what we are going to do is that we are going to create new project. And when you click on this, you can see these options right over here. You can see the types of projects that you can create using PyCharm. You can create a pure Python project. You can create a Django project. That is what we need for now. You can also create a Flask project, Google App Engine, Pyramid, and so on till React Native. So it is a very vast compiler and you can do a lot of stuff using this compiler which you have downloaded for free. So we have created on Django this over here, and this is where the location of our project is going to be, and this is basically the name of the project, and this is going to be the working directory. Now this working directory is basically provided to you by PyCharm automatically when you install it. So you don't need to, I guess, change it. What you need to do over here is that you can change it if you like. So if you don't want to change it, don't change it. So in my case, let me name it to my first project, and let's just keep this a small p. So this is the name of my project, my first project. And you can see over here that we have this project interpreter, that is the new virtual environment. Now in case of other compilers other than PyCharm, what you have to do is that you have to create a virtual environment yourself. But in case of PyCharm, it is available by default, which is a very, very wonderful thing in PyCharm, because creating a virtual environment is a hell lot of a job. But what PyCharm do is that it provide you this virtual environment by default. So you can see over here that we already have a virtual environment named as VENV, that stands for virtual environment. And we already have a base interpreter over here that is already loaded into your project. And you can choose an existing interpreter if you like so, but I don't think that you would like to. You will go with this that is provided by PyCharm by default. And then you have this more settings over here. That is the template language, that is Django. You can also go to Jinja, and what is Jinja over here, that will be discussed in the future tutorials. Then you have this templates folder that is named as templates. Now what is the purpose of this template project is because that whenever you are creating a website, what you need is that you need HTML pages, you need CSS pages, and all those pages are going to be stored in this templates folder. You can change its name if you like to, but I don't think you need to alter anything over here. Just go by the default and click on this create option. After clicking on, you need to wait for a while since it is loading the components which are going to be by default. It is going to create files for you, and in a moment you're going to see that. Now you can see over here that it says preparing your workspace, and these are some of the tips that will be provided to you. If you want to go on through this, you can go on and it will help you a lot. And you can see over here that PyCharm is creating the virtual environment for us, and I guess it has done it. Let's just close it, we don't need it. And now it is ensuring that Django is installed on your system. If it is not, what it's going to do is that it's going to install Django for you. In case of other compilers, what you're going to do is that you are going to install Django yourself. But in case of PyCharm, you can see over here that it is installing Django. It is downloading the files from the internet yourself. So make sure that your internet connection is stable and it is connected when you're opening PyCharm for the very first time, because it is going to install things which are not available. And in our case, Django is not available and it is installing Django. As you can see over here that it is collecting packages, and one of those packages is the Django. So these are basically some of the wonderful things you are going to experience about PyCharm, which are not available in some compilers. They are available in some compilers, but not in every compiler. For example, if you are, I guess, dealing with, let's say, Visual Studio, then in the previous version, I have not tried the new version, but in the previous versions, you have to install Django manually by applying commands. But in case of PyCharm, you can see over here that it is installing Django itself for you, and it is saving you a lot of work to do yourself, and that work is done by PyCharm itself. So we have to wait for a while until and unless it install Django and load our very first project containing some files. And I guess I will just mute this video and we will then load again after this is installed. So resuming back, our Django project is loaded completely, and when your project will be loaded, this is the screen that is going to pop up right in front of you, in which the urls.py is going to be open, and it is going to be something like this. And then we have the settings.py also open, and in that you will have a lot of stuff. So let's just ignore this stuff for now. What you're going to do is that just look at this side of the window. You're going to see my first project. That is the name of the project you have created, and in that you can see that the first thing is that you have my first project, that are basically the files, or you may say the Python files that have been created by default in PyCharm by Django creation project. So you can see over here that we have init.py, that is actually the constructor file. Then we have this asgi.py, then we have settings.py, then we have urls.py, and then we have wsgi.py. And you can see over here that we have that templates folder, which I show you when I was creating the project, that basically contains the HTML files and CSS files. For now it is empty because we have not added any kind of HTML file into it. We will in the future tutorials. Then you have this venv, that is basically the virtual environment, and it contains this include, this lib, this scripts, and what are all of these, that will be discussed in the future tutorials. And then the most important file we are going to have over here is this manage.py file. Now this manage.py file is basically going to manage each and everything between you and the server. So what are the purpose of these files? What is stored in these files? What is this all things that are basically in these files? That we will be discussing on from the next tutorial. So I hope you have created your first project, and if you haven't and are having any kind of issues, feel free to ask and I'll be more than happy to answer. So I guess that's it for now. In the next tutorial, what we are going to do is that we are going to explain all the files that have been created in Django. So thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Welcome you to another tutorial on this course on Django. So in this tutorial, we are going to be dealing with the project files that were created in the previous tutorial when we created a new Django project. So in this tutorial, the first file and the most important of all files is the manage.py, and that is what is going to be discussed in this tutorial. So without wasting any more time, let's move on to PyCharm. And as you can see over here that the text over here is not in a good form. So let's just let me show you how to change this font. So you're going to go to Windows, you're going to go to Editor tabs, and you're going to click on this Configure Editor tabs. You're going to go to Font, and let's just make it equal to 18. And I guess this is a good font. Let's just click on Apply. And you can see over here that this format seems to be a bit good. And let's just change this from white to black so that we may look much more like something like a hacker. So what we are going to do is that we are going to click on this color schemes, and in here we are going to change it to Dracula or whatever this word is, and let's just click on Apply, and it's going to ask you that do you want to apply this for the entire PyCharm. I'm going to click on yes, and I'm going to click on OK, and you can see that this seems much better. So the file we are going to be discussing, as I told you, is this manage.py. So I will just open it and I'll close the rest two files. And you can see that we have this ... over here, which means that it has something. When you move your cursor onto it, you can see that it has import OS and import SYS. So if I just click on it, it is going to open it up. And the first thing you can see over here is open OS. Now OS over here stands for operating system. Now the OS module in Python basically provide functions for interacting with the operating system. OS comes under the Python's standard utility modules. This module provides a portable way of using operating system dependent functionality. Now the OS and os.path modules include many functions to interact with the file system. The second module you can see over here is this import SYS. Now SYS module contain functions relevant to the system of your computer, allowing your Python program to interact with it in a broader way. You can see the version of your system you are working on and things like that using this module, that is SYS. Then if you move down, you have this main function. And if you have done coding in any kind of programming, you know that what is the purpose of main function. Main function basically regulates the flow of the code in your program. So this is the main function of this manage.py, and the first thing you can see right over here is this os.environment.setDefault to Django settings module, and this is the name of the project we have created. That is my first project, .settings. Now this command is basically used to set the environment for your Django settings module. Now we have the environment that refers to the environment, and then we have the function that is the setDefault function that is used to set the environment to the default settings. Now what is going to be set to default is the project you are working on, that is my first project, and that is the second argument of the setDefault function. Now where are all these default settings stored? The answer is argument 1, that is Django settings module. Now Django settings module is where the default settings are available, and the project, that is my first project, is going to be set according to it. Now for example, what if you want to change those settings and want to modify some of the settings according to your requirement? Can you do it? The answer is yes, you can do it. So if you want to bypass the Django settings module environment variable, for example, if you are using the template system by itself, you likely don't want to have to set up an environment variable pointing to a settings module. In these cases, you can configure Django settings manually. After you have either set Django settings module or called the configure function, you will need to call django.setup to load your settings and populate Django's application registry. So you don't need to worry about this stuff, what I'm talking and how to manually set this thing. You are going to see all of this in the future tutorials. For now, you only need to know that this is basically the environment set it for your project, that is my first project. Now if you move on a bit down, that is try, and then you have this except import error. Now in this try, the first thing you have is from Django core project import execute from command line. Now basically the first thing is django.core.management. Now this works by looking for a management.commands function in django.core, and in each installed application, if a command package exists, all commands in that packages are registered. Now core commands are always included. If a setting module has been specified, user-defined commands will also be included. You need to look in the django.core.management package, the execute from command line function that accepts the system.arguments command line parameters and take it from there. So what it's going to do is that it's going to import this function that is execute from command line from this django.core.management. Then we have this except import error as exe, and then you have this raise import error, and then it says could not import Django. Are you sure it's installed and available on your Python path environment variable? Do you forget to activate a virtual environment? And then you have all this check. Now this basically checks that if Django is installed properly and that the virtual environment is set, which is by default all okay, as PyCharm professional version provides you all that automatically when you create a Django project. And I have explained this stuff very briefly and in very much detail when I was installing. And as you can see in the previous tutorial, that when you were loading the Django and you were creating your very first Django project, what it was doing is that it was installing Django for you. So basically this check is only to check that if Django is properly installed on your systems or not. Now since our case we are using PyCharm professional version, this error is never going to pop up because Django is going to be installed automatically by PyCharm professional version, and that is what is awesome about PyCharm professional. So finally we have this if main equal to main, and this also is used to basically regulate the code. And in this if name equal to main, the first thing that is going to be called is this main, which is right over here. As you can see that when I highlight it, it also get highlighted, which means that this is basically the function that is this function calling. So this is basically the calling function, and this is the function that is going to be called, and all these operations are going to be done when this main function is going to be called. And this main function is going to be called at the very first instance because this is how the regulation of the code is being done. So this was about manage.py, and manage.py, as I told you before, it is going to help you to interact you with your server. So the interaction between you and your server is all going to be done using this file that is manage.py. So I hope you have understood what is going on in this file, and if you have, let's just go ahead, and I guess that's it. In the next tutorial we are going to be covering the remaining files, in which we have this init.py, ASGI, settings, URLs, and WSGI respectively. So that's it with this tutorial. Thank you so much guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial.